This little girl witnessed the killing of her family. The mob cut off her mother's head and brought it to her. Her eyes filled with tears, but she did not cry. The thug then put a gun to the girl's chin and looked at her with an evil smile. Then he took a blanket from the house and spread it on the floor. He was about to do something to the girl. Then he turned around and noticed that the pistol was missing from the table. The thug looks at the girl in surprise. The little girl raised the pistol with both hands and pointed it at the thug. Without hesitation, she pulls the trigger. The men in the room rushed out with their guns to check. They were dumbfounded. There was no trace of fear in her. Her eyes were still as sharp as ever, with no hint of emotion. 2 more shots in each of the thugs to avenge the death of her family. Soon after, a strange man sneaks in. He was dumbfounded at the sight of the bodies. He searches the house discreetly. He carefully opens a suspicious cabinet. A little girl is pointing a gun at him. Little girl tries to shoot but runs out of bullets. The man looks at her with such a clever look in his eyes and guesses that she is responsible for the dead bodies on the floor. The man raises his hands to greet the little girl. The little girl felt that the man was harmless and slowly put the gun down and came out of the cupboard. She took the man's hand and left this nightmarish place. The man adopts the little girl and gives her the beautiful name of Anna. 30 years later, the son of a gangster is suddenly kidnapped. The kidnappers demanded a ransom of $3 million. The gangster immediately prepared the cash, but he has to pick it up in person. This is the grown-up Anna. But Anna was not afraid to go to the gangster's lair. The boss punched Anna in the stomach when he met her. After threatening Anna with a harsh word, he told him to call the mastermind. Anna was immediately scared, but the next moment, the whole thing took less than 6 seconds. Anna then staggered out the door. The 2 guards were still dumbfounded as they watched Anna leave, until the news came over the headphones that the boss had been killed, but there was no sign of worry on Anna's face. It turned out she had a fellow sniper. It was Kenny, the man who had adopted him. Kenny was an assassin by trade. Now he's trained Anna to be a top killer too. They arrive in a deserted area. Kenny threw his top-of-the-line M24 into the lake. If you're interested, you can go fishing for it. He then called his employer to tell him the job was done. The employer then called in 7 million euros plus 3 million euros from the mob boss. 10 million euros for one mission. By the end of the day, Anna had prepared a cake for Kenny. It turned out to be his 70th birthday. Then Anna brought out a large gift box for him, a rare guitar made in 1958. There are only 90 of them in the world. This shows how much Kenny is in her heart. And Kenny was generous enough to buy Anna a building. It turned out that Kenny was dying of lung cancer, but Kenny had a new plan right away. He was going to Vietnam to kill a target named Hai. Hai was a total badass. Kenny had said he'd killed him 30 years ago, but word is he's still alive. When Anna heard it was Vietnam, she refused to go with him, because that's where her parents were killed. She didn't want to go back to the nightmare, but to help Kenny, she found her hacker friend Jack. She asks him to help her find out about Tom. But the next day something happens. Jack gives Anna the flash drive with the information on Tom. She was about to give Kenny the flash drive, but once inside she had to be alert to the fact that the nanny had actually been killed. Then she finds her $1 million guitar smashed to smithereens. To make matters worse, she found Kenny's body in the bathtub. She doesn't have time to grieve and quickly goes to Jack to try and get him out. All she found was a bloody corpse. She immediately realized that things were serious and packed her money and passport. When she came out with her things, she noticed a suspicious car outside the window. The 2 killers came in and took a look. Anna was lying motionless on the floor. One of them was about to call the police. This man didn't know about the mending knife and wanted to go over and check it out. The other killer came in and saw the body of his partner, but he was just getting into his car. Then Anna started looking through the files Jack had left behind. She found out that Tom had a business partner who was worth over $1 billion. If she could find this billionaire, she could find a clue to Tom. After a bit of psychological warfare, she decides to go to Vietnam to find out the truth. But Anna doesn't go looking for the rich man right away. She finds out that he has a few bodyguards with him every time he goes out. But the tycoon is a big fan of cigars, so she prepares a box of fine cigars. She wraps it and delivers it to him before visiting him at home. When she came in, she made sure that he had received the cigar. He only had a bodyguard with him this time. She asked him to explain everything about Tom, but he said he was only doing business with Tom. Why is he interested in a man who has been dead for 30 years? Anna said that 3 of her friends had been assassinated for investigating Tom, but the rich man looks puzzled. He doesn't seem to know anything about it. Just then the bodyguard stood up. He said to Anna, "Of course he doesn't know anything about this. He was just a puppet of Tom." And with that he shot the rich man. Anna took a step back in fear. Finally the bodyguard called 2 of his men to surround Anna. Anna took out the knife she had hidden in her cigar and struck back at the bodyguard. She picks up her pistol and shoots her men twice. She then rushed up to the ceiling and started to run away. The bouncer and his men shoot at the ceiling. In the heat of the moment, Anna unscrewed a fire hydrant to disguise her footsteps. When she got outside, Anna turned around and killed her pursuers with a pre-sighted shot. Then she decided it was too slow to get down the stairs. She jumped straight down by the fire hose. A killer is a killer, but she was just out the door when the accident happened. When she woke up, her bodyguard tortured her with waterboarding to make her confess everything, but Anna doesn't give in to him. Just as she was about to give in, a strange man walked in. He had prepared bone broth for Anna's body. He said that his name was Mike and the bodyguards outside were all under Tom, but he had nothing to do with Kenny's death and couldn't even bear to kill her, and finally ordered the bodyguards to keep him safe. However, the bodyguard held a grudge against Anna for the stabbing. Mike had just left. He sent 3 men to kill Anna. Strongman intends to hang Anna with a bedsheet, but Anna accidentally catches a break. She stretches out her 2 long legs and snaps one man's neck in an instant. She kicks the 2 men with her waist and takes the opportunity to break free and whip them with a dinner plate. Finally, she grabs a bedsheet and locks it around the man's neck. He crashed into the sink and died. After escaping, Anna is determined to avenge Kenny's death, because Kenny had given her a second life that year. The next day Mike called to meet Anna, because Mike's boss was Tom, so Anna didn't say no. That night the 2 men showed up at a fancy restaurant. They met and drew guns under the table. There was a lot of fireworks. Mike told her to stop, but Anna told him to tell the truth. And he says that anyone who stands in the way will die. The 2 men exchange barbs and then choose to leave. Anna then sneaks into the bouncer's house to get her revenge. There seems to be something behind the door. The man is curious and goes to check it out. Before the man knows what's going on, the next thing he knew, he was in the bathtub. An eye for an eye. This is what happens when you stand in the way of a killer's revenge. But as soon as she stepped outside, another killer hit her in the waist. The killer was just about to put the finishing touches on her. Suddenly, he was shot and killed. A familiar figure stepped out, and it was Kenny. Anna was too happy to see him. Kenny took her to the hotel to treat her wounds and explained that the killer had only faked his death to cover his tracks when he went to kill him. In the dark, he investigates the trail of Tom. He found out that HAI had changed its identity. He's become an international arms dealer. Tom is throwing a party, pretending to be a charity to increase his influence. 2 days later, Tom's villa begins to be secured. There are mercenaries everywhere. Every inch of the lawn has been searched by the big dogs, making sure there are no security risks. Even the waiters have red bracelets to identify themselves. And Mike is in charge of close protection, keeping an eye on everyone in the venue. But just as the guards were comparing Anna's photo to the people entering, Anna managed to sneak in posing as a waitress. She had cut her hair. She was so dedicated to her job as a killer. When all the guests were seated, Tom came out. Mike looked very carefully at the scene. When he saw Anna's back, he felt a slight resemblance, but wasn't sure. He saw her face as she finished her last drink, and then Anna had the opportunity to shoot. Just as Mike swooped in, the scene was chaotic. This gave Tom a chance to hide in the shelter. Anna immediately got up and retreated into the crowd. Mike followed the blood from the ground. He shot her straight in the shoulder. Meanwhile, Kenny had infiltrated the shelter. He told Tom straight out. The mission to assassinate Tom 30 years ago had failed. Today he's here to finish the job. It turns out it was Tom who hired Kenny to kill him. The man who was killed was just a double. The purpose was to create the illusion of death, to ensure the safety of himself and his family. At this moment, Tom was baffled. He didn't expect Kenny to be so dedicated to his work. Kenny said that he had come to kill him not only for his professionalism, but also for the war crimes he had committed back then. The old debt was settled with the new. After that, Kenny took out a large C4. He was ready to die with Tom. On the other hand, Mike followed the blood trail. He soon finds Anna, but Mike doesn't want to kill her, he just wants her. Instead, she tells Mike that her mission is complete. Mike realizes he's been tricked, but it's too late. After a loud bang, the shelter was reduced to rubble and Anna took the opportunity to escape to the place where she was kidnapped by the mob. It was here that she wanted to put an end to the nightmare in her mind. Mike soon arrives too. Once again, the two men drew their guns. The last two shots were heard. The door slowly opened, and out came Anna.